Talk is online. News Talk is a production of PelTalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users. I'm your host, Gary Baumgarten, joining you on the road from beautiful Clarion, Pennsylvania, home of Clarion University or College? University, which is a cute little liberal arts college, I believe, just down the road. This is a very picturesque town, Clarion, because it's very hilly, because we're in the mountain range. Any direction you look, you see beautiful mountains. It's just gorgeous here, gorgeous. Anyway, as everyone knows, one of the ongoing topics, not just for this program, but many people are talking about both on and off Pal Talk, are relations between Muslims and people in the Western world. And we know from the comments that we see anecdotally here in this program, and we hear anecdotally in this program, there are some Muslims who just hate the United States and the Western world in general. And Westerners sit back and say, why? We just don't get it, why you feel this way. And we also know that many Americans and other Westerners express their fear of Muslims because of Islamic terrorism. But not just of Muslim terrorists, many people express their fear and loathing of Muslims in general, which, as I have stated many times on this program, is misguided because the problem is not Muslims, it's terrorists who use Islam as their reason for creating their terrorist acts. I don't believe Islam to be a monolithic religion by any stretch of the imagination. But people respond, how do you know the good guys from the bad guys? And that's a very good question. Well, this seesawing, this tug of war has been going on and probably will go on forever. But we have been very fortunate in tracking down a researcher at University who has actually looked into these issues and may have some answers as to why some Muslims feel the way about Westerners and some Westerners feel the way they do about people of the Islamic faith. We welcome Erik Nisbet to the program. Erik, what caused you to follow this line of research?
Hello, and thank you for having me. This line of research has been emerging as a research program at Cornell University over the last several years. Obviously, the current context of the conflict between the United States or the Western world more generally and the Muslim world has been concern of both policymakers and scholars. Here at Cornell, what we've tried to do is look at the public opinion research as well as try to understand the media's role in creating perceptions of Muslims or Americans on both sides of the conflict.
And, you know, I think that I hear Muslims here on Pal Talk, Erik Nisbet, suggesting that Americans and other Westerners are brainwashed by their governments, and we hear Westerners and Americans saying the Muslims feel the way they do about us because they have been told lies about the West from cradle to grave in their homes, in their mosques, in their schools, and in their newspapers. Is there some veracity to both sides of this argument, do you think?
Well, I think that's somewhat of a simplistic view of some very complex dynamics going on right now in the world. It is true that, unfortunately, most of our information about each other is filtered through the media. The Muslim population in the United States is very small. It's only 2 or 3% of the population. Most people do not know any Muslims or socially interact with Muslims, and thus they're dependent upon what they see on television or what they read in the newspaper or what they see in movies or entertainment content. The same could be true to a degree of Muslims overseas. They again have to rely on media information to understand the United States and learn about its policies and its people. But, you know, as well as in some cases, for example, in Iraq or the Middle East, they do have some direct experience with Americans, or they actually have relatives in places that have direct experience or actually suffer the consequences of U.S. policy. So it's a mix. But in the United States, primarily, we are reliant upon the media and what the media tells us about Islam and U.S. policy for most of our information.
Well, one could argue